Do you ever get that feeling, that you're working harder than you ever have before, but you just feel like you're falling further and further behind? It's this constant, low-level hum of financial anxiety. Well, you are definitely not alone. And today, we're going to unpack the actual math behind that feeling. Oh man, we've all been there, haven't we? Sitting at the kitchen table, maybe it's late at night. You've got the mortgage bill, the car payment, the grocery receipts, the utility bills, and it's all just piled up. You're making decent money. You're not out there living some crazy, extravagant lifestyle. But at the end of the month, the numbers, they just don't add up.
And that's when this question creeps in. You look around at your neighbors, your friends, and you just wonder, how is everyone else managing? Am I the only one who feels like they're treading water here? Well, the truth is, you're not. Not even close.
See, that feeling of constantly falling behind, it's not some kind of personal failure. It's actually a reflection of a new, and let's be honest, a pretty shocking economic reality. There is a new benchmark, a new baseline for what it costs just to get by in America.
I mean, just think about what a basic middle-class life is supposed to look like. We're not talking about yachts and private jets here. We're talking about the absolute fundamentals. A modest home, a car that you can count on, enough food on the table, and being able to go to the doctor when you're sick. That used to be the American standard, right?
Well, today, achieving that basic lifestyle, it requires an income that would have been considered solidly upper middle class just a couple of decades ago. The new survival threshold? It's right around $70,000 a year. And let me be really clear about this. That is not a thriving number. That is a surviving number.
So the big question is, where in the world does all that money go? Well, let's break down the absolutely brutal math that is reshaping American life. We're going to walk through the big spending categories one by one, and, well, the numbers might just shock you.
Okay, let's kick things off with the single biggest expense that is absolutely crushing American families right now: housing. It doesn't matter if you rent or you own, the costs have just become astronomical.
This right here, this chart shows you the huge gap between financial advice and the world we actually live in. You know, all the experts say you should never spend more than 30% of your income on housing. But the reality for today, the annual cost of just owning a home is now eating up 47% of the median household income. This is what happens when housing supply doesn't keep up with demand for years and years. Prices just soar. We've gone from what was once reasonable to what is now, frankly, financially reckless.
And if you're thinking, well, I'll just rent, think again. Renting is no safe haven. The median rent in the U.S. is now almost $1,500 a month, and that's before you even add in utilities. And what's making it even worse is that some landlords are using these new algorithmic pricing software systems to basically artificially inflate rents just because they can.
All right, next up, a cost that's hitting homeowners like a financial sledgehammer: insurance. Seriously, the numbers we're seeing here feel like they're from an alternate universe.
Okay, get this. Homeowners' insurance premiums have gone up for 26 straight quarters. And they're not just going up, they're climbing 40% faster than overall inflation. A huge driver of this is that insurance companies are pricing in higher risks from extreme weather. And if you want to see how nuts it's gotten, just look at a state like Nebraska, where the average homeowner is now paying almost $6,400 a year. That's over $500 a month just for insurance.
Now let's move from the house to what's inside the fridge. Let's talk about the essential category that hits our wallets every single day: food. The cost of simply eating has fundamentally changed.
So between 2020 and 2024, food prices jumped a staggering 23.6%. And the most important thing to understand here is that this isn't some temporary sticker shock that's going to go away. Now, this is the new, permanent baseline for what it costs to put food on the table.
And the psychological toll of this is just immense.
A wild 90% of American adults say they are stressed out about the cost of groceries. And it's pretty easy to see why, right? Especially when you consider that for lower income families, food can eat up nearly a third of their after-tax income. So, what does all this add up to? What does it all mean? It means the very definition of middle class has been completely rewritten. We have to throw out all our old assumptions about what a good salary even is anymore. You know, it used to be that a middle-class income meant you could comfortably cover all your needs and, still have a little something left over to put into savings. Now, the official range for middle class starts at around $53,000, which, as we've just seen, is an income that barely covers the cost of existing, let alone saving for the future. And this just shows how much your zip code creates a totally different economic reality. In a place like Jackson, Mississippi, you might be considered middle class making $49,000 a year. But try that in San Francisco, you'd need nearly 67 grand just to hit the bottom rung of that ladder. It's the same country, but we're living in completely different financial worlds. And look, this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. All of this financial pressure has a very real and very human cost. It is forcing an entire generation to put their lives, their dreams, their futures completely on hold. Young people are delaying getting married and having kids because they literally can't afford it. They're living with roommates well into their 30s, not because they want to, but because they have to. The American dream hasn't just gotten more expensive. For a whole lot of people, it's been mathematically eliminated. So, let's put it all together. Let's look at exactly how that money just vanishes. Because once you see how all of these costs stack up, you'll really understand this is not about a personal failure. It's just the math. Just look at how fast this adds up. Housing, on average, 22 grand. Transportation, that's your car payment, gas, maintenance, plus your auto insurance, which has also spiked, another 12 grand. Food, 9,000. Healthcare, even with employer insurance, you're looking at 4,000 in out-of-pocket costs. So before you've even thought about savings or student loans or a vacation, you've already spent over $50,000. Now, add on about 20 grand in taxes for a $70,000 salary, and all of a sudden, you need almost $78,000 just to break even. And this right here is the single most important thing to take away from all of this. If you feel like you're drowning financially, it is not because you're bad with money. It's because you are living in an economic system where the fundamental math has changed. Your struggle isn't a failure, it's a mathematical inevitability. So we've seen it. The numbers, they just don't work like they used to. The basic math of American life has fundamentally and probably permanently changed. So the final question is, knowing this, what does that change for you?